All right, so that is Malachi Branham going number 14 to Cleveland. We are now out of the lottery. We are heading to pick number 15. We are going to go 2 minutes and 30 seconds on each of these picks, so it's going to be a little bit quicker. Jeremy, we're going to you. You are picking for someone for LaMelo Ball to throw lobs to. There's one guy that the world needs you to pick here. I hope you make the right decision. A lot of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, look, with Williams and Duren on the board here, it's pretty nice to be able to make that choice. I think if you're splitting hairs, I think also because I went such big upside at 13 with Jang, knowing that it's going to take him a little time, I think a safer pick here, and I want someone who's going to like stabilize my team. So I'm going to go with Mark Williams. I think his length and his ability to catch lobs, and he's just a bigger target. And I think defensively, he's going to offer more right away than Duren will. I think Duren could certainly be better than Mark in a few years, but I think for what Charlotte needs, and they want to be an up-tempo team, and they want to also be defensively stable, I think having a giant guy like Mark, who's also going to be a huge threat and knows exactly what his role is going to be a difference maker for them.
Goodman, I'm going to you since I know you're such a big fan of the Ball family. If you're building around LaMelo, is this a winning strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love the pick of Mark Williams. I think, again, he gives you a big target on the offensive end that LaMelo can throw it to, and I think he's terrific defensively. I mean, he's so big. He's so athletic. He can impact on both ends. He's not a guy that you're going to give the ball to on the post, but there aren't a lot of those guys anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I like Williams over Duren in this situation. I really do.
Sam, is he switchable enough to be able to kind of play a modern five in a playoff series where we see teams switching everything these days?
Yeah, I don't see him as switchable. I think you can run some versatile like screen coverages with him. Like you can play flatter with Mark Williams and he can recover using his length. Look, I probably would have gone with Jalen Duren here, if only because I think that he's a better lob catcher. I think that his ability to just like go up with one hand, catch the ball on lobs, and just finish all in one fell swoop and out high point people with his leaping ability is genuinely special. Like I think he's one of the best lob catchers to enter the NBA since DeAndre Jordan. I think these two are very close, but for the particular Charlotte situation, I probably would have gone with Jalen Duren.
Yeah, I think Mark Williams is a better player, but I think we need Jalen Duren there for the highlights. So, Jeremy, you failed that test. We are
the motor was the thing.
All right, we're going to pick number 16, the Atlanta Hawks. Building around Trae Young. Ryan, this is to you. Who you taking at number 16?
This is a gift for me. This is a gift. I had this guy 9th on my draft board. Lets me do some other things, put Clint Capella in play, John Collins potentially in play. We know those are actual things, especially with Collins, that are being discussed. I am going to go with Jalen Duren. I had him rated 9th overall on my board. Just the productivity, with that body. I think in a lot of ways he's what Trae needs. We talked about it relative to LaMelo, the last pick, the lob catching ability, like his body, like how he initiates contact, he hit first. Also that 37-inch vertical is impressive. I really like breaking down the film, this kid's second jump. I think that's an underrated skill for a big man. He gets down and back up again. It's important for offensive rebounds, putbacks, things like that. So outside lottery, I think this is great value with the 16th pick, Jalen Duren to the Atlanta Hawks.
Matt, my comparison for Jalen Duren has been Onyeka Okongwu. And I think that if you are taking Jalen Duren where you would have drafted Onyeka Okongwu in the top 6, then I don't know if I love it. If you can get him at 16 with an entirely different set of expectations, I think this is a really good pick with a lot of really good value.
Yeah, I mean, I think it creates some dilemmas. I mean, obviously you got a log jam there. I think where does he play? Where does Onyeka play? Obviously, Capella there as well. So fit wise, it's not great. But at 16th pick, I think it's one of these deals where you probably shouldn't overanalyze it. This guy's got a lot of upside. He's one of the youngest guys in the draft, or is he the youngest guy in the draft? I know he reclassified his senior year. So a young guy with upside. Jeremy touched on the motor. That's been my holdup with Jalen all along. I mean, especially when he was in high school, he's actually improved, but very selective motor. So, I mean, there are some concerns there, but the upside is legitimate.
Goodman, we watched him play about 17 different times at Peach Jam last summer. You got 15 seconds here. What do you take on? What's your take on Jalen?
Well, that first time we know what happened. He didn't play the whole second half. He didn't show up. He basically overslept. But Jalen Duren is talented. It's just going to take time. He's going to be inconsistent, but he's a freak athlete with a Alonzo Mourning body.
Yeah, he looks like Dwight Howard. He's 18 years old. That is not a normal thing. All right, pick number 17. We are going back down to Houston. Sam, you're picking again for the Rockets. Who do you have?
Yeah, so again, this is a situation where I'm picking talent at the end of the day. And in this case, I'm lucky that I think the talent fits really well. I'm going Ty Washington out of Kentucky. I love the way that Ty fits in both iterations of Houston's backcourt. I think that he can play really, really well next to Jalen Green. He kind of accentuates a lot of the skills that Jalen has. Jalen's going to be able to collapse the defense with his incredible athleticism, then kick it out to the weak side where Ty can shoot. And then he can make decisions attacking closeouts and processing the game. That's what he really excels at. And then on top of it, I think he brings some of the steadiness that sometimes Kevin Porter can lack on the offensive end, particularly just with his ability to make decisions. It could free up Kevin Porter to be more of that high level scorer that I think we all believe that Kevin Porter can be. So I really like the fit of Ty Washington here. I think that it's a really great potential fit as well with Paulo Banchero, who I just drafted in the front court. Yeah, just kind of across the board, I love this fit for Houston. And it's one of those things that I really hope we actually see on draft night.
Goodman, you went all in on Ty in the preseason. He did not have a great end to the season. I think part of that was a little bit of an ankle injury. Part of that was playing out of position. What's your take on Ty at the next level?
Yeah, I just don't think Calipari did a good enough job with Ty, to be honest. And part of it was having Severe Wheeler, and he's a ball dominant point guard who doesn't shoot it well. So I think Ty can be a Jamal Murray type of player at the next level. I really do. I think he may not be quite the explosive scorer that Murray is, but neither one's a great athlete, similar size, similar body. I think Ty is a much better passer with better feel for the game, but we just didn't see it at Kentucky.
Ryan, I want to ask you this. How much do you consider the program that players are coming from when you draft them? Like we've seen Kentucky guards, Tyler Hero, Tyrese Maxey, Jamal Murray, all these guys outperform where they've been drafted.
We actually drafted a Kentucky guard in Phoenix, a couple of them actually. One's pretty good. He's number 13, I think. Light skin, about 6'5", 6'6". Anyways,
Talk your shit, Ryan. Let's go.
Hey, no, we drafted a few guys that couldn't play dead in the Cowboy movie either, so we won't get into those. But no, it's important. This kid in particular, I agree with Jeff. I like his touch. I love the floater, breaking him down on film.
That's another humble brag. All right. Matt, you're number 18, Chicago Bulls.
All right, so I got excited for a second thinking that Jalen Duren could slip to this pick. I would have taken him, but so here I am. I'm going to take Tari Eason. I think Chicago has got plenty of depth in the backcourt, and so I think with Tari, he's a talented scorer that I think ultimately could play either forward spot. Just gives them some lineup flexibility, and just another offensive punch.
Jeremy, what's your take on Tari Eason? Do you buy the shot? Can that thing come around?
Yeah. I mean, mechanically it's not pretty, but he shoots well enough from the line. He's made enough like open ones that I think he'll probably shoot enough. My bigger concern with him is just that there's not a lot of diversity to, what he does on offense. It's a lot of right hand drives. He's very effective doing that, but just like the put your head down, barrel to the rim thing is a lot harder to do in the NBA. Particularly when, you're so, strong hand dominant. The 2 times I saw him this year, he was really inconsistent, worries me a little bit. Gets in foul trouble a lot. A guy who I'm not personally as excited about, but I also think that there's only so far you can let him fall because, physically he's so good. He's so productive. I think there's definitely a chance that he figures it out. And, the fact that defensively he won't get played off the floor matters here too. So I think the upside of this pick is definitely there, but he's just not my favorite guy.
Sam, what is he if that jumper doesn't come around?
Yeah, I think he's a bigger, more versatile version of Matisse Thybulle, to be honest, because he's so big, he's so strong. Like, I think there are worlds where you could slide him down onto like smaller fives. Like, I think that he could stick on Bam Adebayo, someone like that. He could definitely stick on like a John Collins when he's down at the 5. So, Clint Capella as well. So I think he gives you real lineup versatility while having that similar ability to make plays. Like Tari Eason, the thing that really came out of the combine is that he has absolutely enormous hands, and he's so disruptive with those hands. He does such a good job. If he gets his hand on that ball whenever he's digging down for a strip or whenever he's just trying to get into your handle, he's taking the ball. Like there's just not a way around it. And that's how he creates transition opportunities. He's a good weak side rim protector. He's just trying to make shit happen out there in a real substantial way.
Yeah, and the big thing about him is he's always going to play hard. He's athletic and he's going to play hard, and that's something that you cannot teach. All right. That was pick number 18. We're on to number 19. It's Jeff Goodman picking for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jeff, who you got?
Listen, the Timberwolves were good this past year. Kind of came out of nowhere a little bit, making the playoffs. And now I think you add a piece that can impact winning right away. And that's EJ Liddell. You know, I think he fits well with Karl Anthony Towns on the front line. I think Liddell's gotten so much better. He's kind of that undersized 4, really, but in today's game, that's shown to work. But he can make shots from the perimeter, and the biggest thing he did this past year, he can guard now. He slimmed down a little bit, and he can guard. So I think he's perfect for what they need in Minnesota, and he's a high culture guy as well.
I love EJ Liddell. I love
Me
him.
too.
I did our scouting report for EJ Liddell with Sam, who is an Ohio State alum, who is not quite as high on EJ Liddell as I am. So, Sam, why is that?
Yeah, I just have some on-ball worries. I think that the idea of him being a small ball center is a little bit less attractive to me than someone like Grant Williams, because I don't know if he can quite anchor in the same way that Grant can, like just physically against bigger guys. I think a lot of his blocks come from the weak side, just rotating over. And I ended up with EJ, around 24, 25 on my board. Like, I think this is a completely reasonable pick. I think that once you start digging into the nuances a little bit, his game raises more questions than what the skill package would state, including the jumper. Like, I have some concerns with how flat the jumper is as he moves back beyond the NBA line as well. So just some small concerns, I would say.
Ryan, when you are drafting guys to play a role, what are the things that you are looking for? Well, how do you evaluate? Can he buy into the team? Can he buy into a culture? Is he selfless? What are the things that you look for?
That's where a lot of the intel with coaches, trainers, teammates comes into play. One of the things I like about Jeff's pick here is I think this is something that Tim Connolly, the new president of Minnesota, would actually do. He's a positional fit for the Timberwolves, a stat that I thought was really good, courtesy Ohio State. Only 2 other players in the last 30 years have put up the numbers this kid has in terms of points, rebounds, assists, blocks. Jason Thompson from Ryder and Tim Duncan. Now, he's not obviously Tim Duncan, but this is a productive player. So I think a lot of it is the fit. And to Jeff's point, Minnesota's ahead of schedule. They need a win now player. A guy could potentially be in the rotation. And I really like EJ Liddell. In fact, I was hoping he was there a few picks later when I come back.
All right. So EJ Liddell goes number 19. I'm picking for San Antonio. It's their second pick of the draft. I got Shaedon Sharpe at number 9 for them. They are a team loaded with wings. I think they also need some shooting. They need upside. I think that finding a big man would be key for them, assuming that they have to deal with this Jakob Poeltl thing that's coming up in a year. But I'm going to go with another wing, and Dagan Hughes, our producer, is going to be mad at me because I don't actually have him on our list for guys that they should target. But I'm going to go with Jalen Williams from Santa Clara because it just feels like a very San Antonio Spurs thing to do, to draft a guy from Santa Clara with the number 20 pick. He's 6'6". He's got a huge wingspan. He makes threes. He's a guy that it seems like as people go back and watch more tape, he just continues to shoot up all of these draft boards and shoot up all of these rankings. And given what they did with Josh Primo last year, which kind of surprised a lot of people, I think it makes sense for them to take another Jalen Williams. He fits, he plugs some holes that they have on their roster. Jeremy, tell me why I'm crazy.
Are you sure you picked the right Jalen Williams? No, I think this makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think Jalen, Santa Clara Jalen, definitely fits kind of the way San Antonio wants to play. I think it's a nice fit also just because they have so many young perimeter pieces, and I think that Jalen being able to kind of toggle on and off the ball, kind of play some 1, 2, and 3, kind of depending on what they do. And I know that they want to try Josh Primo more on the ball. He's someone they really believe in. I think having a guy who's just like a steady defender who can make a shot, who can run a little bit of offense, I think he fits pretty well there. So I sign off on that.
Matt, when did he first come on your radar as a prospect?
Throughout the year, and we watched some film on him, and I mean, at the combine is where he really rose up. I think with all of us. I mean, he measured well, showed his versatility. I mean, talking to some coaches in that conference, think he's going to be a point guard when it's all said and done. But I mean, I think the point of it is just the versatility that he brings. Creates some advantages for a team like San Antonio.
Ryan, you got about 10 seconds here. How do you evaluate players that play in some of these smaller leagues?
It's hard. With this kid, I was a little concerned that his team lost to most of the best teams, Gonzaga, St. Mary's, but I like that he played on the ball. And I agree. I think he can be a point guard with his skill and playmaking ability.
Sam, I'm going to you for pick number 21, the Denver Nuggets. Who do you have here? This is an interesting one. They got that's going to be a team that's going to get healthy and be dangerous.
Well, boys, I know I'm in the room with a lot of Arizona guys. I'm going to take one of your own. I'm taking Dalen Terry here. He just fits in a number of different varieties and capacities for a lot of reasons. And this is a team that could use more perimeter defenders. Mike Malone has done such a great job of establishing a great defensive culture there, despite the fact, that they have Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and guys that have struggled on that end previously. Dalen Terry is the kind of guy that I think would fit really well playing next to guys like Jamal Murray, like Bones Highland, because of his defensive energy, his intensity. This is a guy that's just an energy giver when he's out there. On top of it, I love his ball handling ability. He posted a 3-to-1 assist to turnover ratio this year. And you watch Dalen Terry play, it's not for a lack of risk taking. Like, he's throwing like side spin, like bounce passes through tight windows, and he's trying to make things happen out there. He averaged 4 assists a game. I think there's a world where, down the road, you might be able to play this dude who's 6'7" with a 7'1" wingspan on the ball a little bit, allowing Jamal Murray, allowing even Bones Highland maybe in second units to play off the ball. I love Dalen Terry's upside. I think he's the kind of guy you win games with, and this is a team that is really trying to win games. So Dalen Terry, number 21, Denver Nuggets.
Ryan, I know you already threw your shoulder out, patting yourself on the back for drafting Mikal Bridges. If you can get the second coming of Mikal Bridges,
and Devin Booker, Rob, but
and
don't forget that.
And Devin Booker, don't forget that one. If you can get the second coming of Mikal Bridges, why would he drop all the way to 21?
It's a good question. I really like Dalen Terry. I think the reasons he would drop to 21, and maybe they're in the 20s, are just the lack of productivity at Arizona, right? He was the 5th leading scorer on the team. But I like the player in the pick. In fact, he was a guy that I'm coming back next year at 22, just because I think one of the things that's easy to forget is, how does this guy fit into the NBA? Well, this guy fits into the NBA because he can make some plays. He has good length. I think he needs to improve his shooting mechanics. His wrist was a little bit loose when I watched the film, but I like this kid. I think it's a good pick. The questions they have is, can he do more than being the 5th leading scorer on the Arizona Wildcats? I think he slides in as a 3-and-D defender with some playmaking potential as well.
I totally agree. I love the kid. I love the fit. I love the player. Ryan, we are coming back to you. Pick number 22, the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, and this is one, sometimes the draft works out kind of the way you hope it would. Sometimes it goes against you. Those are the breaks. But this player I'm going to draft is, I think, somebody Memphis actually may draft because of their roster and financial situation going forward. And that's the point guard out of Tennessee, Kennedy Chandler. They have Tyus Jones, who's an unrestricted free agent. Jones was excellent, maybe the best backup point guard in the league. Obviously, John Morant's a superstar. But Kennedy Chandler, you guys know his pedigree, especially your recruiting gurus. Top 10 high school player, played for Team USA. I like his ability with the ball in his hands. He just knows how to play. I like his feel. I really like his defense. I thought that for a freshman guard, I was trying to go back and think of freshman guards who defend like that. He anticipated well. He got 2.2 steals per game. And he's skilled. Now, there are concerns, about his size. He's small. He's not very athletic, and the shooting. So that's going to be the determining factor. But you have a superstar in John Morant. You're looking for a backup point guard. This kid's a good basketball player. He knows how to defend. I think he fits right in Memphis.
Goodman, how worried are you about the size? We just said that one of the best things about him is his ability to defend. If he's probably 5'11" on a good, I don't care what he's listed at. Like, that dude he's not a very big man. So
no, he's small, but he fits a need. That's what you're drafting here. Like Ryan's saying, you're drafting for need as much as anything else. This is a bad point guard draft. There's no other way to say it. And, Kennedy Chandler probably goes higher than he should. Only because, again, there aren't a lot of good point guards out there.
Mm-hmm. Sam, we've talked about his size before. How concerned are you?
Extremely. It's just really, really hard to be a 6-foot guard in today's NBA, especially when you're 170 pounds like Kennedy Chandler is. For as hard as he works, and I feel bad, like, it's through no fault of his own. He's done a phenomenal job improving as a shooter. He works really hard. He does all of the right things. I take no solace in saying that I'm not like a Kennedy Chandler guy. I love everything he brings to the table. It's just it's hard to imagine a world where he doesn't get hunted on mismatches in today's NBA, given how mismatch heavy these best players in the league get.
Yeah, I think you can't measure the heart though, and Tennessee really turned into the best team in the SEC for a stretch last season because of Kennedy Chandler. Goodman, pick number 23, the Philadelphia 76ers. Are we going to trust your process here?
I'm torn on this one. I mean, this is a tough one for me because the guy I probably liked the best here, I'm not sure he's the best fit, which is Kendall Brown. I think Kendall Brown's going to be a really good NBA player, and he didn't get the opportunity to show what he could do at Baylor. I think he's a better offensive player than people realize and can be a really good defender, but I just don't know if they need him. Do you take a backup big man like Walker Kessler here? I think maybe you just go Blake Wesley and just take the best player on the board, the guy with the highest upside, South Bend native who nobody saw this coming. Didn't shoot it great, but I think that'll get better. He's a worker from everything I've been told, but good first step, smooth wing. So I think you just go with the best player available at this point if you're Philly, and I go Blake Wesley with the highest upside.
Yeah, Jeremy, this is definitely an upside play. Do you buy the shooting? Because he's not with what I think his percentage is 41 from 2, 31 from 3 this past season. He's got to get better at that.
Yeah. So I saw Notre Dame a few times because it's a quick drive from in Chicago, and I think he can shoot. Like from watching him shoot around, like it's not like there's like a lack of ability to shoot. I think what he really needs to develop is just more of like the confidence and sort of like the catch and shoot skill set, where it's he needs to be able to catch it, make a quick decision whether he's gonna shoot it or drive or whatever. Like I don't question that he can get into the paint. Like I think it was a weird sort. I think he had a good situation, but I think he's just so like raw in some ways. He didn't play a ton of high level basketball. He wasn't very touted when he got to Notre Dame. So everything we're seeing here is him kind of learning. So like, I think the upside's definitely there. He's someone I definitely would be interested in this range. And I think, Blake, his body is probably going to be able to put on a lot of muscle. And I think there are a lot of plays, where he got stuffed at the rim, but at some point in his career, he's going to start dunking. So the upside's there. Got to figure out whether he's going to be on or off the ball. I think more likely he's an off ball sort of slasher, but a good development plan. I think you can get a lot out of him. So I like the pick here. I don't know if Philly's the team, but someone should take him.
Yeah, he's definitely has upside. And at the end of the day, everybody needs great players and shooting for upside at this point of the draft. There's really no cost to doing so. Goodman, we are going back to you. Pick number 24, the Milwaukee Bucks. This is a team. They're very, very good. They have some good players. They took Boston to 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals without Chris Middleton. Who are you taking?
Walker Kessler. I think they need a big here. Brook Lopez was hurt for the majority of this season. He's not getting any younger. I don't love Kessler. I got to admit, but I think he's kind of the best true big on the board right now, and he fits a need for at this point, which I think kind of Ryan can probably weigh in on this. But if you're picking in the mid-20s, how much does need supersede? Because you're not talking about a big disparity in talent. So I think in this situation, I would probably go with Walker Kessler, who's a great defensive big man.
Yeah, go ahead. Answer that, Ryan.
Yeah, this is a pick I can see the Milwaukee Bucks actually making. They have financial issues as a luxury tax team. Their payroll's very expensive. And if you look at the history of the late first round, especially the later you get into the mid 20s and closer to 30, most of the players fail in that range. That's just historically what it is. So if you find a guy who's a positional fit, who can give you some rotational minutes, even as a backup, as your 9th, 10th man off the bench, and keep in mind, if you hit in that range, like Memphis did a few years ago with Desmond Bane, that is so valuable because you get a player who produces and you get that salary slot for 4 years, which really, if you have financial issues, lets you do a whole lot else. So I think this is a pick they would actually make. I mean, Kessler's shot blocking is incredible. He's obviously a little bit stiff, but I can see them, saying, let's lock in a potential backup center at a low cost for the next 4 years.
Dauster's
Matt,
stiff too, so don't worry.
Matt, Walker Kessler, one of the best shot blockers that we've seen in college. Will that translate? Are you worried about that translating to the next level?
No, I think the shot blocking translates. My only concern here with this pick is taking a guy that doesn't fit the coach's system well. Bud likes playing stretch bigs, floor spacing with Giannis, and I'm personally not buying Walker Kessler's ability to stretch the floor. His mechanics aren't broken. I don't know if it's I don't know if he's a shot maker when it's all said and done. So that would be my concern. But he's a good player, and the shot blocking does translate.
Sam, you got 10 seconds. Do you think the shooting happens for him?
I don't know if the shooting happens, but I do think it's a real defensive scheme fit. They do run a pretty heavy drop under Bud, and that is going to be helpful for them, I think, off the bench. But the shooting is a real concern. I agree with Matt.
All right. So that is Walker Kessler, who I wanted at number 25 for San Antonio. I'm making that pick. I think that they need front court depth here. And I think that there are still some good bigs on the board. The guy that I am the biggest fan of, and I don't know if this is going to end up being a reach, but I really like Christian Coloco. I think that you can make the argument, given his switchability, given his rim protection skills, the fact that he can make some free throws, maybe that jumper could end up coming around one day. I think that he is the guy that could end up being the best kind of defensive only piece that you can find, switchable, someone that could play in a playoff series one day. So I'm going to take Christian Coloco, number 25 for the San Antonio Spurs. But we have a lot of Arizona guys on here. So somebody tell me why that's a horrible pick, because I know it probably is. Goodman, go ahead. I see you nodding.
No, I'm a huge Coloco guy because, again, I think he's the best big man defender in this draft. I mean, you saw it last year. He can switch. He can guard perimeter guys, and he's just gotten better and better and better every year. And his confidence was the biggest reason why he made the jump this year. I don't think he really had it over the first couple of years of his career at Arizona. So I love Coloco. He's not going to give you much offensively. Let's be honest. He's going to be a rim runner. But the biggest thing he's going to be able to do is on the defensive end, block and alter shots and switch out on smaller dudes.
Jeremy, what do you take? What's your take on Coloco?
Yeah, I kind of went back and forth with him and Kessler, and I ended up with Kessler ahead. But the one advantage Coloco is going to have is and you kind of touched on it, he is a lot more mobile. He can move his feet. He has a physical presence, but he also can, I think, gives you a little bit more versatility in what you want to do than like your typical sort of shot blocking big. And he's gotten a lot better in a short amount of time. So offensively, I guess that's where my concern lies. His finishing is going to have to improve. He's probably not going to shoot. But is he like a very legit, like potentially really good backup? Yeah, no question to me.
Yeah. That's kind of why I landed on him with that pick is I'll roll the dice and hope that San Antonio can figure out a way to get him to shoot, and just trust the fact that he's going to be someone that can't get isolated and put on an island defensively. All right, Sam, we are going to you. Pick number 26. You are drafting for the third time tonight for the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, so this one's purely a talent play for me down here. It's my last guy that I have in tier 4 of my draft class here. It's Jaden Hardy from the G League Ignite. Do I love the idea of having him in the same backcourt as a bunch of shot gunners like Jalen Green, Kevin Porter, even Ty can get a little bit shot happy from time to time, but I don't. But at the end of the day, I'm taking talent here, and I think Jaden's ability to create shots at a really high level is very underrated. I think he has, in terms of like technical craft, the best handle in this class. Like there's no antidote for just being able to run around dudes like Jaden Ivey can. But in terms of just the technical ability to, change direction, change pace, I think his handle's exceptionally tight. I also loved his last month of the season for the Ignite. He was horrible for the first few months, but he really kind of figured out that mix of being able to make plays as a passer. I think he's an underrated passer when his mindset is geared toward that. And then on top of it, he made 40% of his threes over the last month and a half of the season on 10 attempts per game. I think he can generate those shots at a really high level. This is a Jordan Poole upside swing for me, where if it works, I have a guy that can create shots, and there is very little more valuable in today's NBA than guys that can knock down shots and create them out of isolation.
Matt, when you look at a guy that was a top 5 recruit coming out of his class that might have slid down the draft boards a little bit, does that play into your mind at all? Like he crushed it at every level of basketball until he got here, and maybe it just wasn't a great fit where he was the year before he's drafted.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's something you got to take a look at, and I think one advantage some of us have is we don't have the red tape that NBA teams do as far as high school events. And so I saw him in high school, and I saw that crazy raw talent and upside. And I think he was a little bit of a victim of going to the professional setup probably too soon, because he's got a lot of talent. He's just his feel for the game, his basketball IQ, just some of these little things that, just lack of polish really exposed him, and I think kind of painted him in a bad light. But I like this pick a lot. It is an upside play.
I mean, and that's the risk of going to the G League instead of going to college, right? Playing against grown men.
Grown men, absolutely.
All right. That was pick number 26. Number 27, the Miami Heat. Matt, we're going right back to you. Who do you got for the Heat?
Yeah, similar to Sam's approach with that last pick, I'm going with the best player available here. I'm going with Marjon Beauchamp. This is a kid, I've known him for a couple of years, and how far he's come has really shown me that he's got a growth mindset. Terrific motor, tough kid, defends, active, slasher. I still like him to see him continue to improve his outside shooting. But at this stage in the draft, I'm really excited about this pick.
Goodman, he is one of
his story is incredible. Like, you can probably go a little bit deeper into that, Matt, a little bit about his story. But
Oh, sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no. So a couple years ago, I was called by my friend Frank Mastriano, who started Chameleon BX. He's a crazy. I call him Crazy Frank. He's Hell's trainer, and started Chameleon BX, where he's kind of doing like what G League Ignite's doing, getting guys to skip college and just train for a year. He started during the pandemic, so it kind of blew up in their face. And Marjon was down and out, and but credit to Frank and Marjon. The things that Frank applied as far as getting his body together and applying discipline to his life, the kid dramatically improved and kind of turned his weaknesses into strengths, and really has impressed me.
Yeah, went to junior college. Yeah, went to junior college for a while, put up crazy numbers, and really went to the G League Ignite as an afterthought, from what I'm told. And
yeah, absolutely.
Turned into an NBA prospect when that was kind of never the thought with him initially going there. So cool story.
Yeah, Matt, when did you first realize that he was a guy that kind of had this potential when he was in that program?
I saw the potential in high school. He had a reputation for bad body language, selective motor. He was really thin, and now if I would do a scout report on him right now, all of those things have been scratched. I think he's a tough kid that plays hard, and he's improved his shooting too. If he can continue to improve that area, that's definitely his swing skill. But at 27 again, I just think that's a high value pick.
Yeah, and
it fits their toughness, right?
He fits Miami's toughness. Yeah, if you survive Frank Mastriano, you can handle Riley's system too.
Sam, how much have you seen him? You got about 15 seconds here.
Yeah, good amount. I think that what Matt brings up is important when considering all of these other prospects where we talk about their weaknesses. All these guys are so young. They have so much time in the world to be able to change their weaknesses into strengths, especially when they're motor based and questions about mindset and things like that.
All right. So I am picking number 28 for the Golden State Warriors, the team that we're all going to be watching here in about 15 minutes. So I think we all kind of know what they are. Steph, Clay, Draymond, Wiggins, and pretty soon Jordan Poole. So they have a pretty big salary. So they're looking for people that can be cheap, reliable depth, immediate impact kind of role players that fit into this system that they want to play. And there's a number of guys that are kind of in that wing that I have the wing category that I have written down. But the guy that's the most interesting to me is Wendell Moore from Duke. I think that he is another player that was a former McDonald's All-American. He's a guy that really shot it this year. And if you believe in the shot, I think it was at 41% he ended for the whole season. He was a playmaker. He's got a long wingspan. He can kind of fit into that versatile mold that makes sense in the NBA. There's a lot of options that you can go here. I like Wendell Moore the most out of all of them. Jeremy, what do you think about that?
Yeah, Wendell is one of the players I'm really excited about in this draft, actually. I think he's the rare, underrated Duke guy, if that's fair to say. I just, for whatever reason, and I think partially because there was so much star power in their team, I think people who paid attention noticed, but he didn't get quite enough credit nationally for what he. I guess he won awards. So maybe that's not true, but in the context of the draft, just sort of what he did to kind of elevate Duke. If you think about the type of player that you need to sort of complement star talent, having a guy like Wendell who, can bring the ball up, he can run a little bit of pick and roll, he can shoot and knock down an open shot. He's a good passer, really good transition player. He's bigger than you think just physically. He's not super tall, but he's got a long frame and he has a physical presence defensively. He's going to be able to switch stuff. So I think it's sort of a lesser, what I was talking about a little bit with Dyson Daniels, being able to be a positionless kind of cog alongside stars. Wendell kind of does the same thing to a lesser degree. So I like that pick, particularly for Golden State with, stars in place already.
Ryan, we got about 20 seconds here. When you're drafting and trying to find a way to make it all work under the salary cap or under the luxury tax, how much of a consideration are things like this?
Well, I think for most teams it is, but for Joe Lacob and the Warriors, they just spend, baby. The revenue they bring in is incredible, especially this year going back to the finals. It'd be a very interesting test for the NBA if the Warriors continue to blow the luxury tax and the repeater tax out of the water.
We are going right back to you, Ryan. Pick number 29. You're drafting. It's Memphis. It's their second pick in the first round, number 29.
Yeah, so with our first pick with the Grizzlies at 22, we went Kennedy Chandler, the point guard out of Tennessee, who we discussed. At 29, I was hoping this guy was here because the Grizzlies are a good team. As you guys know, they have the second best record in the NBA this year, second in the West, only to Phoenix. They advanced in the playoffs. I do not want another rookie on my roster after Kennedy Chandler. So I'm going to draft Nikola Jovic out of Mega Vizura in Serbia. Jovic was born in England. His father was a pro basketball player. This kid grew up playing water polo and basketball in Serbia. He was a top prospect in the ABA League, which, as these guys know, is pretty good league in terms of developing prospects. Really good size, 6'9.5" barefoot, 7-foot wingspan. He played primarily point guard, which I like that from a developmental perspective. I don't think that's where he fits in to the NBA, at least initially, but getting reps with the ball in your hands, I think for young players is invaluable. And if I'm Zach Kleiman and the guys in Memphis's front office, along with Taylor Jenkins, I am begging this kid to stay in Europe and develop. We'll bring you over in a year or two. He could be one of the best players in the European continent in a couple of years. And then with a good, talented Grizzlies team, you're adding to strength if you bring this kid over in a few years.
Goodman, I just want to be clear. That's Nikola Jovic, not Nikola Jokic. Okay. There's two different players. He did not pick the MVP. Okay.
I'm just upset that Ryan McDonough, being the former North Carolina Tar Heel, didn't take Brady Manick here. That's what I was headed.
I was going to draft Walker Kessler, then cut him for transferring to Auburn, but that's a different story. It would have been a little spiteful on my part.
Sam, we got about 45 seconds here. Put a bow on Nikola's game for us.
Yeah, I think that Ryan hit the main points. I mean, he's a point forward at the end of the day. Really, really high level passer. I also like the shot mechanics. I think he's going to knock down shots off the catch at a pretty reasonable level. This is a guy that made a real impact at the U19 World Cup last year, especially statistically. He was very, very good for Serbia. I have real worries about the defense. I have no idea who he guards in the NBA is my real concern here. But at 29, if you can get a guy that's 6'11" in shoes and has all sorts of passing and shooting ability, I mean, it's totally reasonable pick. Like, I think it's a rational, smart decision in many ways.
Yeah, and Nemanja Bjelica is playing in the NBA Finals. He doesn't really guard anybody, so
yeah,
I think there's a role for this kid down the road.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, Sam, you have the last pick of the first round. We're coming back to you. You need to make Denver a national or an NBA title team with this pick. All the pressure's on you. Take us home.
30th overall picks, bringing them to the title. Let's go. Yeah, look, I have two guys left in my top 25. It looks like it's Jake LaRavia and Christian Brown. I'm going to go LaRavia. I have him one spot higher than Christian Brown. LaRavia, I think, is an outstanding shooter at 6'8". I know that the volume wasn't there in college, but I think it was more a matter of decision-making and wanting to make the right play while he played next to Alondas Williams, who was so aggressive on the ball and trying to hit home runs constantly. And LaRavia is a very, very high-level passer, very, very high-level processor of the game. I think that pairing him with Nikola Jokic, not Jovic, is going to really, really play well off of Jokic's cutting or Jokic's passing with LaRavia's cutting ability and his floor spacing ability. I already took a wing in Dalen Terry for the Denver Nuggets, and I think that taking a guy who's more of like a 4-3 hybrid forward, that can maybe spell Michael Porter, given that we don't necessarily feel awesome about Michael Porter's health long term. I really like the idea of them just building up depth in the front court with skilled guys that would fit well with Nikola Jokic.
Matt, I think this is the perfect example of what fit means at the next level, right? Alondas Williams was the star for Wake Forest all year long, and Jake LaRavia is the guy that goes with the 30th pick in the first round.
No, sure. I mean, I think comparing those two, I mean, Alondas Williams, I think the question with him is how good will he be as a complimentary guy rather than a player at Wake Forest where the ball's in his hands and he's asked to pretty much do everything. LaRavia can blend, in a good way. And so I think, Sam, your points with, Denver's offense obviously being built around Jokic is, it's perfect. He stretches it. He's tough, slasher. I personally, for a lot of the same reasons, probably would have gone Kendall Brown because I think he would fit really well with Denver as far as his slashing abilities, just an elite athlete, potential defensively. But again, very similar points that you made, Sam, of why you went with Laravia.
Jeremy, you got about 15 seconds. Give me your take on Jake LaRavia.
Yeah, I like him. He grew on me. I didn't see him all year until the ACC tournament, and I'm sitting there, up close, and his competitiveness really popped. So that was a nice surprise, in addition to the passing and the other stuff that he brings. I like the pick.